Well, I was thinking, I was thinking about a topic the other day for a meeting, and so often, especially in our discussion meetings, people want to talk about their problem of the day. They want to talk about the challenges they have because they were bad parents and now they're trying to be good parents. And I understand these different topics that we have. Someone wanted to talk about not gratitude the other day, but um, they're having issues with boundaries. And these are all interesting topics, but when you're in an AA meeting, are they really AA topic material? You know, so I was thinking about a topic the other day, and the topic that comes to mind, and probably should be the topic of every single meeting, is what AA's done for me, how AA has helped my life and helped me see a better way of living. Yeah. Sometimes it's so hard to find the words that I want to formulate here, but today, and I've been sober since December 1st of 1999. So I just went over 26 years. And the past 26 years, although I haven't drank between that and I've stayed sober, and I've had a slow progress of spiritual development where I've built a relationship with a higher power that I don't understand. A hybrid sort of Christian, sort of like Buddhism, sort of faith. Uh, Not quite sure I understand all of it, sort of thing, but uh, man, I lost my train of thought. But uh, we're talking about the the challenges that I have in my life right now. Is although I'm sober and I'm not drinking, I've still. I mean, today at 26 years sober, I've got some serious challenges taking place in my life right now. Things that could really set me back, or perhaps they'll set me forward. I don't know how they're going to play out at the moment, but I have some issues, and luckily my relationship with my wife is good, with my son is good, but my business is an issue, and I'm not going to get into that, nor do I really want to share those problems in an AA meeting. Which leads me to this concept of this topic I'm trying to come up with, which is that, in spite of all these problems, of all these issues, I'm sitting here today and I'm sober. I'm grateful, still very grateful for what I have right now, although that may change depending on how things go. But I accept it. I can live with that. I've made decisions, and I've chosen to do things that probably weren't in the best interest of my business interests, and I have to live with the consequences of those decisions. And that's the interesting thing about sobriety, is it, and having not just sobriety, because the sobriety is just not drinking. Being a recovered alcoholic and having these steps behind me, um, gives me a certain peace, even surrounded by chaos. And that no matter what happens, no matter how things unfold in my life, the one solution that I don't see is taking a drink. In fact, when I do think about taking a drink, which I do, as the stress and the pressure builds sometimes, I say, well, what if I took a drink? And I see absolutely no redeeming value in taking a drink and trying to escape or numb out my problem at all. And that's the cool thing about AA. And for, really, the importance of these meetings to me is it, and God, it was so important for me when I came in here, is it I learned about people who had been sober, who hadn't drank, who found a relationship with God, who didn't have faith in God, or found a relationship with a higher power. Because when I came in here, I was agnostic with a twist in that right before I came into AA, and this is kind of interesting, in that right before I came into AA, I made a choice, drunk as a skunk. I said, I'm going to believe in God. I decided I'm going to have faith in a God that I don't understand or don't believe in. And my thinking process, my logic at the time was, I'd rather believe that there is God and there's more to this life and be wrong than to live in this miserable uh, existence that I was living in. Just just a total futility of life. Just things being so meaningless. And I'd hate to live with that faith and be right. So, I chose to have faith in a God, and then I got back up in bed and kept drinking. And this was right before Thanksgiving in 1999, and I got back up in bed and I took a sip of my drink, which was I drank vodka on the rocks straight in my bed, and I said, man, I'm going to quit drinking right after New Year's. So my plan was to get sober on January 1st, 2000. Well, I let God know that I was willing to put my trust in Him. And, it's, when you're in a dark room and the hall light's on and someone cracks the door just a little bit, how that light just takes over the room. And that was it for me. I cracked that door a little bit and said, God, all right, I'm going to let you in a little bit. And He kicked the door open. Within a week, and this was it was right before Thanksgiving, and then we go through Thanksgiving, and then that weekend, my parents. There's more to the story, but basically, my family found out I was drinking again, and they did a little mini intervention on me, and I found myself in an AA meeting. It was sometime before December 1st, but I don't remember exactly which day it was. So I just say my anniversary date is December 1st because I know that was definitely the last. I haven't had a drink since then. And I ended up in an AA meeting, a few days later. And the journey in AA has just been. I don't. God, I wish I don't quite know how to explain it, but it's just been a wonderful, wonderful path of continuous growing and learning and loving and finding God and losing God and finding God and just going through all these different levels of faith. Sandy Beach. If any of you have listened to him before, he died a few years ago, but Sandy Beach was another former Marine. He was a pilot, but he tells a story about how you come into AA and how your faith is sort of like a hot air balloon. When you start in here, it starts on the ground, and as you slowly work these steps, and I think I'm embellishing on this metaphor a little bit, but I like how I perceive it anyhow. When he says, you have a choice, and you work on your faith, and you understand it's like a hot air balloon, and the more you develop it, the higher up you go in this spiritual ladder. And some people only go so high, and then their hot air levels off, and they stay there. But you can always continue to go higher up if you work at it. Or depending on how you do, your spiritual balloon is going to come down. And for me, it's just been a wonderful journey of this spiritual balloon that for the most of the 26 years has always gone up just a little bit higher. I can't say it has all the time because I've done some things which I'm not proud of in sobriety. but I didn't drink, and I didn't hurt anybody. I made some bad decisions with some relationships I was in. Um, I made my amends where I had to make my amends. And that's the beauty of the program, this fellowship. And I'm telling you, if I could say anything to you people who are new and are just coming in here and learning about this program, is listen while you're in here initially. When I came into AA, I initially, as I went through the meetings and before I worked the steps, a meeting every day and not drinking between meetings worked for me. I didn't need to read the book. I didn't need the steps. I did read the book, but I didn't need to work the steps or get a sponsor. My logic was I just keep coming to these meetings every day. Don't drink between meetings. I'm going to be good because I'd get, it's like coming to an AA meeting is sort of like going to see Tony Robbins. You just get this spiritual high from being in that sort of environment. And 1 hour a day of AA, and I get that spiritual high. And then I go back to work. And I literally told myself initially that this is great. And I'll get my work back. I get my girlfriend back. I get my car back. And 3 years from now, I won't have to be doing it, and I can drink again. But something in these meetings hit me, and I ended up getting a sponsor. And I had a very laid back sponsor. I'll be honest with you. I do have a sponsor. I still speak to him today, not very often, but we talk. And that was his program. He said, "Hey Earl, I walked you through the steps. You're sober. You do what you want. Call me, don't call me. I don't care. And we're friends today, and we get along." And I do talk to him. I do call him every now and then. And you know what? Every time I bounce something off this guy, I always get growth from him. And he and I are on different spectrums of the world. I'm more conservative politically. He's more liberal politically. So, just if you're new, God, I keep losing my train of thought. If you're new and you're coming in here, listen in the meetings. And then when you hear somebody that has a sobriety that you want, ask them to be your sponsor. But I'll tell you this, if you really hear somebody has a sobriety you want, and you're praying and you're working on your relationship with God, and you're trying to do these steps, and you're because the first 3 steps, a lot of that you can do just by coming to these meetings, by accepting that first step, and working on the second step with your own faith. A sponsor can just help you recognize how you've worked those steps. But pray and continue to ask God to guide you. And what happened for me was, my sponsor told me that he was sponsoring me, which was it, because I prayed about it, and I said, God, I'd like to ask Ross to sponsor me. And I came to the meeting, and I was going to ask him that night, and he looks, and we're sitting next to each other in the meeting. He looks at me and goes, "Earl, do you got a sponsor?" I said, "No." He goes, "You do now." And so it was sort of one of those serendipitous, God smacked moments where, it was meant to be. But listen in these meetings. Pay attention to what you hear people say, and you're going to hear people say stuff you love, and you're going to hear people say stuff you think is bullshit. And what you think is bullshit, though, someone else loves. And that's the paradox of this fellowship and of these meetings. And if you come in here with an open mind and just listen, you'll be amazed at what you get out of a meeting by paying attention. But you listen to what the people say until you hear somebody whose sobriety really resonates with you. You really relate to them on a spiritual level, not on a material level. If you relate to the sponsor because of what he has, you're setting yourself up for a problem. But find that person and ask them to show you how they did it. So, I started this silly chat by saying, well, I had an idea for a meeting topic. And the meeting topic really was just, let's talk about how AA saved our lives and how it helps us live our lives today through the application of the steps in our life around our sober friends and around our non-sober friends. Thank you for letting me share.